Peace, 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 family. We're back with it again, once again, the DOA TBN podcast, and it's your host, Fonzie Neutron, aka Alfonso Frice Great. This week, we're joined with two special guests, no strangers to the DOA TBN podcast, no strangers to the broadcast that we're putting forward. One of them goes by the name Dino Spumoni, and we also have Brandin Smith from the Hood Therapy podcast. Now, I want to say peace to Anchor FM for definitely keeping us powered each and every episode, getting our podcast on Spotify and Apple and all those other groovy sites. So without much further ado, we're going to be exploring a few topics today. So what's good, fam? What's good, guys, I should say, respectively.
I'm all good, man. Yeah, I'm good too, bro. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I was just thinking this is actually the first time we initiated one of these freeways and such, so we're probably going to need some kind of system so we don't be all talking at the same time at certain points.
Yeah.
So I think, Dean, last time you said something which is about raising your hand. If you're going to say something, then prior to saying
we're in a situation where we start talking over each other and kind of, we want it to flow nicely, so.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's the thing why I'm glad to have these both on there, because we always have different conversations respectively that flow quite well. We're able to explore different bits of information, but the dope thing is, especially us coming from different parts of the globe, but still being connected and still being able to explore issues that affect all of us in the diaspora, but people just around the world in general. So on this one, we're going to be exploring one of the things that, especially in the Black community, we often hear of, lack of support within families, lack of support within communities when it comes to people endeavoring towards business and stuff. So this kind of led me towards where we're going with this episode. We're going to be exploring just the falsities, I guess, sometimes of the relationships that we have, whether it be family, whether it be friends. Can those relationships sometimes be a deterrence to us getting to where we need to be? Does it stop us from maximizing our full potential sometimes, or can it be an embellishment for that? So first off, I'm gonna probably fire off with D, man, and see if you kind of got any thoughts on this topic and see.
Yeah, well, what I think is everyone has a vision for what we want our lives to be and where we want to go in both our career and just in general. But other people have other people who are close to us, like our parents or friends and family or whatever, they have their own vision of what they want us to be. And that's why there's often a conflict, So for example, there might be a guy who wants to go into acting, for example, right? But his parents want him to go into accounting or be a doctor or that kind of thing. And he's adamant that that's where he wants his life to go, because that's what he feels his calling is. But his parents might think, oh no, we don't want you to do that. Acting is it's not a safe job. It's, you're going to have to spend a lot of time out of work, and you know what I mean? So what the conflict causes have to happen is the parents or whoever will try to guide that person down a path that they don't really want to go down. And when that happens, the person often gives in to their parents' desires, and they don't live the life they want to live, essentially. For example, you speak to older people, right, in their 70s, right, and they often say the biggest regret they've got from their life is that they didn't live the life they wanted to live. They lived the life that other people wanted them to live, and they did what other people wanted them to do. And it's a massive regret for them, because you can't turn back the clock. Once you're in your 70s and you're about to, move on to the next life or whatever, it's too late. So what I say to everyone is, live the life you want to live. Do what you want to do. Don't let any outside influences change you from what is your calling. We all have a calling from God, right? We all do. We all have something we're good at. We all have a gift. And essentially, what a gift is, it's something you're good at with minimum effort, right? Like you with your music, right? It's something that you're able to do well without having to try that hard. That's what your calling is, and we all have that. And people have to be strong enough to ignore outside influences that are telling them to do this, do that, if it's not what they want to do. And this is what causes a lot of conflict with people that I know. I know a lot of people I got a friend in London who's got his own business, really successful guy. he's doing really well, but his parents want him to follow their footsteps and go into the medical field. You see what I mean?
No.
And even though he's doing well, and they can see that he's doing well, he's got the house, the car, all the other things that allude that he's doing well, it still causes conflict because he's not living the life they want to live. And I think that's unfair because it's like almost like they're living through him, or trying to live through him, you know?
Okay, so I think you made some solid points. Even to touch on that, I want to fire it over to you, Brandon. But to touch on that, I want to slightly fire it with a question. You can obviously disseminate any points that kind of stand out within that. But how important then do you think it is for people to be living to please their parents? Then do you think it's an obligation that we have? Because even if we talk about like I know Dean mentioned a bit about scripture and stuff like that, and then in some scriptures, some say honor your parents, honor thy mother and thy father, and your days on the earth shall be long, and things of this nature. And sometimes in our communities and families, people take that and flip it as in you must do whatever your parents say, or you must follow whatever they tell you to do. So how important do you feel it is, just in terms of the fellowship and or even pleasing your parents and stuff?
You right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So bro, honestly though, I think it is power in pleasing your parents, and I think it is power in doing what is what people see fit for you. But also, like Dean said, there's no real fulfillment in that. So you see a lot of people who jump into that and they do it for years and years and years, and they never really satisfied. Even when it comes to the money, you can have somebody be a billionaire but still not be satisfied the way that they got the money. And I think a lot of times when it comes to especially family and friends, it's a lack of understanding, because a lot of times people, especially when it comes to, like, for instance, you doing music, or for instance, me going into entrepreneurship, it's something that our family don't really understand. It's something that they never really got into. So a lot of times, they say opinion is something that's chosen among the majority because it takes no intuition, it takes no knowledge, and it really takes no effort. So I think a lot of people, them not understanding us and what we're doing for the full potential is really just like Dean was saying, it's the disconnect. But I think also us really understanding ourselves and understanding our passion is what's really going to keep us growing, because you think about it, your success is determined by people you don't even know. Like the 20, 50, 100 people in your family is nothing compared to even the 334 million people in America. So, it's all about how we think about the situation. But at the end of the day, I feel like, us just being told no so much is kind of the motivation that's going to keep us going. Because that one yes is going to be better than all of the no's that we receive.
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on, and you made some great points, because I think sometimes, especially those that do endeavor to do different, it's an excellent point that a lot of times people in our families may not have the complete understanding of the complexities of A, what it takes, and B, just the dynamics of it, because it's not something that they probably embarked upon themselves. Especially when we take conditioning and stuff like that, and we look at just the literacy levels of people in terms of financial literacy and stuff as well. We know we're definitely at a low in a lot of those aspects. So when it comes to, I guess, those of us who are trying to maximize and reach our full potential and may have that potential, you're definitely in a smaller percentile within your group of people. Now, what I'd say is sometimes it can be difficult, because you just made a great point where you said, even the 100 and odd something people that might be in your family and nothing compared to the thousands and millions of people that are around the world and stuff. So you don't necessarily need to be deflated or defeated, but sometimes us as a people, especially when we're accustomed to, as you said, a lot of no's, we're accustomed to sometimes harsh treatment, and reality is those things can also kill a lot of people's dreams from where they want to get, because they don't see that sort of support from a home base or a home level. I don't particularly feel like what you guys were saying. There's definitely sometimes there can be power in pleasing, I guess, the parents, depending upon, the family dynamic. Like, for instance, I was dating somebody before who, their family, they had an accounting business, and, they could sort of levy that business as leverage somewhat for them to work. And, there's they can be a part of the company as a guaranteed job. There's, there's certain dainties and things there, but the person themselves, they probably wanted to live a different life. They wanted to probably go into a medical or more charitable route or something, for instance. But it's sometimes people are limited, or I guess inhibited, by trying to please their parents, and not everybody's going to be that bold to really step out of it, because ultimately everybody's kind of made in the image of their families and their parents and stuff, which is even part of our own conditioning. In terms of friends, I want to find this out to you guys, because some say, okay, well, we're looking at family, we're looking at the friend and relationship dynamics. How important is it having the right sort of people around you, or, yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Very important. They say, like, I watch a lot of motivational videos, and they say you become like the 5 people you surround yourself with, right? You start to naturally gain their personality traits. For example, if you hang around with 5 broke people, you'll be the 6th, right? So, for example, the friends you hang out with, the 5 people that you spend the most time with, are very, very important. So what I'd say to that is everyone should try and surround themselves with people who are on the same wavelength as them, who are on the same mission as them. Not necessarily trying to do the same career as them, but who's got the same drive as them, trying to make success in their career. That's extremely important, having those people around you, not just for support, but just they can spur you on. If you see some of your friends doing really well in whatever they're doing, and you can see they're so motivated to improve their situation, it motivates you as well. I've been there myself. When I was working before, and some of the friends I had were buying houses, another friend was buying a house, and I was looking to save to buy a house. It kind of spurred me on to do the same thing, because I was looking something I was looking to do anyway. So it's very important, the friends you have, the people you surround yourself with. Gary Vaynerchuk, he talks about this a lot. I watch a lot of his podcasts, and he does a lot of videos on LinkedIn, and that's one of the things he quite often talks about. So the friends you surround yourself with, we should be very selective, because the truth is a lot of friends will try and sabotage your dreams. For example, you have a certain vision. So for example, you could have friends who you're in the same position as to start with, right? When you start to elevate yourself and go higher, and they can see that you're starting to go higher, jealousy can start to kick in. And what they'll do is they'll start to sabotage you and say things like, oh, I don't think that's the right thing for you to do. I don't think you should do that career. Not because they don't think it's the right thing for you to do, but they know it's going to take you to a higher plane and you're going to leave them behind. Again, I've been in that situation before. So yeah, the friends you have is very important.
Yeah, no, with that being said, I wanted to say, because you do make some good points, but quickly I wanted to interject to say, at the same time, when we take that then and we say, especially a lot of Black families who have been, not forcibly, but even just in terms of nurtured or grown together. So a lot of them, their immediate group of people that they probably know and hang out with, or their first sets of friends, sometimes their cousins, is their relatives, is their, so sometimes they ain't necessarily got a choice on the most 5 people that they're around. You know what I mean? So that's another thing I think sometimes to be mindful of, because oftentimes people are raised in certain ways in environments where you can be around people by default, and those are the same people that you're around, and you're picking up those things, as you said. But that can then still lead to a lot of that same jealousy and that bitterness and stuff you spoke about, because as you said, people are coming from the same level. We see this a lot in families, especially in a lot of Black families, or even whether it's families, even communities. Look at a lot of rappers like Pop Smoke, rest in peace, recently, and some brothers that did that at the end of the day. So they say even the Black man's more likely to be killed by one of his own people in his community for just rising up and doing well in certain things. So getting behind some of the mindset of that, where do we think this sort of psyche stems from? I want to fire this over to Brandon, because especially being out there in the States, a lot of the stuff that even people have adopted out here in the UK as a mentality and as a way of living has already been played out there, for instance, earlier on. So even in terms of a lot of the stuff we see now, yeah, it affects us all globally, like as we see even with the pandemic and stuff. But how do you, where do you think this mentality kind of comes from, or how has it sort of formed this? Because like Dean was saying, you could be around somebody and they say they want to buy a house, and you could take that and be like, you know what, that's gonna motivate me to buy a house. But you could be around somebody in the hood and they say they want to buy a house, and then everybody looking at them like, yo, I want to kill or rob that nigga. So what do you think that kind of, how that mindset kind of formed?
All right. So first, I want to go back to the discussion that y'all was just talking about, and the point that Dean had made, where he was just saying that you want to have people around you who are who have the same mission as you, the same like the same passion, that type of stuff. I agree to an extent. So I think about it like this. Just think about this. It's like you have people around you who are doing the same exact thing, who have the same mission. And I think a lot of times when we have these people around us, it shows us a glass ceiling, because it's like if we on the same level, we doing the same thing. It's kind of like we can't elevate over each other. So I think it's really important to really have a balance, because you think about it, we always, no matter what position we're in, it's always going to be people higher than us, it's always going to be people lower than us. So I think it's important for us to have people who are doing better than us, to motivate us and be like, I got here, I'm not necessarily, envy him and say, I'm at a higher level than you or nothing like that, but just to kind of put you on to the steps and everything, because I think, like I said, it's very important. It's very important to watch who you surround yourself with. But I think also it's kind of just like I say, having that balance, people who are doing better, but also have people who might be doing a little worse. Maybe not the people who are envying you, maybe not the people who are, trying to hate on you, but the people who want to do better, the people who want to learn from you, the people who want to see what you're doing. And I think it's important to have, like I say, a balance to these type of people, because I think in general, life is really about balance. And we having people that's doing the same stuff as us is really not going to motivate us as much as if we were seeing, where we came from or where we wanted to be, and that's where we look for those people to find. Secondly, where do these things come from? I would say that probably the crab in the bucket mentality. Just seeing somebody. Maybe I'm not going to say it's not enough resources, but seeing all of the resources hoarded around one person, and like you say, you see maybe somebody in the hood, or somebody in like a situation where they about to buy a new car, they about to buy a new house. A lot of times when people can't do that, it'll bring up some type of jealousy. And maybe like a lot of times it's subconscious jealousy. If people don't know why they jealous, or they don't know, why they feel this way, but I think it's more so in people really wanting to elevate but not knowing how to, and seeing somebody who is elevating, seeing somebody who is doing better, it's kind of like I want to just take what they have as opposed to, learning from them and seeing what they could really teach me.
Oh, I can dig that. Do you think that maybe, that's an excellent point. And when you said in terms of learning from what they can teach, do you think maybe sometimes there's not enough teaching where some of this knowledge and information is being passed down? Because as we see in a lot of other communities, whether somebody directly deals with the information themselves or is an expert in it, there's a system where it's even passed between them and things are shared. But sometimes with our people, let's say somebody go get qualified or something, for instance, they keep that information to themselves. They won't really send it into a way that it could be used for others within their community to benefit and learn from. It's more like, well, I got this. I'm gonna make my money from the information I got and stuff.
I think a lot of times it really comes down to when people I really think it's a disconnect between our people, and I think it's more so like a mental disconnect, to the point where it's like it's even weird for us to talk to each other sometimes. For you to just walk up to somebody and speak to them. So I think part of that disconnect comes from, like I say, just losing focus of each other, losing the love for each other, losing the compassion for one another. And I think a lot of times, especially in this Americanized society, we think about it as, how can I benefit? How can I get my people to benefit, as opposed to, how can I, change the whole thing? And I think a lot of people get caught up in not feeling like they had the power to change the whole structure, so they just worry about them, like they limit themselves to just him. And I think it's way bigger than just us. Like even when it comes to just a podcast and speaking this word, it's way bigger than just us. I think people get caught up in, just wanting to see how they can be better, how they can be above somebody else. It's kind of like the slave mentality, where it's like my master's house is better than yours, but it's like we both slaves,
Yep. Yeah, no, that's real. I mean, Dean, you got any points on that?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing I was saying earlier, when I was saying about people like on the same mission. I don't mean like necessarily doing the same career as you or the same, you know, industry as you. I just mean people who are as driven and motivated as you. That's what I was meaning by that. I think it's good to have friends who are doing different things. One of your friends is doing music, someone else is doing, you know, an entrepreneur, someone else is an architect, someone else is in the medical field. I think that's good. That's what I was meaning by that. I mean people who are as motivated and hungry for success as you are, rather than the same industry.
I think we got that. I think where Brandon was more going with it is having a mix of not just people who are that motivated, but even sometimes, because as he said, you can be the one to motivate somebody else. So it could be somebody, you could be having somebody around you who maybe they're not firing from that cylinder, but they really want to learn. Maybe they're not the absolute deadbeat who isn't trying to do anything, but they could still not be at that level, but they still need, you know, that kind of mix as well. And sometimes they have a lot of value that they can offer as well from a different level. It's like, especially when we think about even like young people and stuff, there's it's like a catch-22 or a two-sided coin, because on one aspect there's so much they don't know because they're still sort of new to the world of how things are, but in another aspect there's a lot that they know just like that. You know, so you gotta have the mix, because you can listen and learn a lot from them, but if you're just gonna be ignorant and look at it like you know everything just because you're of a certain age or you've got a certain amount of experience, it's not as cut and dry as that, you know.
Yeah, true.
It's definitely not. So kind of moving on swiftly, you know, we want to sort of explore same thing, we're sticking with the dynamics of how, you know, the bearings that the family and the friends that we have around us have an impact on, you know, just the successes that we're having. So let's slightly, you know, let's take away the family and friend aspect slightly, and we're still sticking with the notion of just success. So building upon that, you know, because we hear a lot of people nowadays talk about success and you know, what is success, how do we define it? Everybody has different definitions of how they may define their own personal success. You know, some say success is the accomplishment of the necessary. So, you know, that could just, whatever that is for you in your life or your situation, it's doing what's actually necessary and accomplishing that, because if you don't, then you're not successful. And which kind of levies to the point of where we were slightly before, just in terms of distractions, because sometimes those distractions can be in the form of family and friends and stuff, and you know, kind of knock you off balance. But sticking with the context of success then, and sort of finding that success in 2020, you know, how does one, you know, what steps or what direction does one take at approaching to truly maximize their potential out here and be successful? We know, okay, you know, it's limiting yourself on procrastinating, it's limiting yourself on being around certain people who, if they aren't necessarily as advanced or, like Dean was saying, as progressive as you, especially in that field, because everything's there's a time and a place for everything. So there's a time and a place where, you know, you run your business mind and you're firing up and you want to be spending that around the right people and stuff. So you know, 2020 going forward, you know, tools, steps, techniques, principles, we're looking at, you know, how to truly, you know, maximize and master your potential. You know, I'm gonna fight this one to Dean.
Yeah. So basically, it all starts with the mind. You have to decide in your mind what it is you want to do. That's the first thing. And then the second step is decide how you're going to get there, right? So first, you've got to decide what it is you want to do, what it is you want to be, and then how you're going to get there. That's the first thing to do in terms of fulfilling your purpose and maximizing your potential, okay? After that, you've then got to think outside the box. I always use this as an example, right? It doesn't matter how crazy it sounds to other people, as long as it makes sense to you, right? For example, you know, the Wright brothers invented airplanes, right? Now, the whole concept of a metal object flying through the air, right, to other countries, to most people in 1906 or whenever the planes were invented, wouldn't make sense, would it? It wouldn't make sense, the concept of planes. But the Wright brothers had a vision. And that's what you've got to do sometimes. You've got to have a vision in your mind of something that might not make sense to anybody else, but it makes sense to you. And if you think about it logically, right, as human beings, we've advanced incredibly over the years. And one of the reasons why we've advanced incredibly over the years is because some people have thought outside the box. If everyone played it safe, we wouldn't have airplanes, wouldn't have cars, wouldn't have the internet, wouldn't have the phones that we're on now, the smartphones. So in my opinion, you've got to just do what you think is right for your life, okay? And you've got to make sacrifices, okay? If you want to make it big, you've got to put in the hours, extreme hours. There's 24 hours in a day. We all get the same hours. We have the same amount of hours as Bill Gates, you know, but it's how you use them. So you've got to be smart with your time. Time is the most important thing. You can never get time back. So to maximize your potential in 2020 and beyond, you've got to A, decide what it is you want to do. B, how you're going to get there. C, think outside the box. Don't worry what other people might think. Other people might laugh at your dreams. They might think, what's he on about? He's never going to achieve that. Ignore that negative noise and just go for it. It might not make sense to anyone else, but it'll make sense to you. So that's what you got to do to maximize your potential in 2020, I think, and moving forward.
Okay, so we're looking at mentalism, using using the mind, especially techniques of planning and stuff, having a firm objective and stuff that you're passionate about. This sort of lends me to a bit of conversation we was having, Brandon, because I want to sort of fire this to you, but before that, I want to just throw a little curveball in there, because we were speaking about just the context of sometimes, I guess, balancing or juggling then a lot of these things, because like you just mentioned, Dean, in 2020, there's a lot of entrepreneurs. So, it's a hustler's market, it's an independent market. So people have, a variety of creative outlets and endeavors sometimes. So firing this over to you, Brandon, that, just in terms of maximizing our potential and now, but also being, I guess, multifaceted sometimes as a creative, how can we find that balance within that sometimes, and or difficulties that people might come across within it?
Man, that's a good question, honestly. I would really say as far as finding balance. So for me, I was actually just going to, we were just talking about this, and I was actually saying, for me, like, I feel like a good balance, especially when going as far as, life path and stuff, is really having something that keeps you creative with something that you can expand off of. And I think that's also what Dean was saying, finding something that you're passionate about. And I think for a lot of people, like, as far as entrepreneurship, we get stuck in the money game, where it's like we get into it because we want to, increase our potential or our profits or whatever. But I think a lot of times, a person that's a millionaire, you could be a millionaire from helping a million people. You could be a millionaire from living in $1 million house. So it's like, I think a lot of times when it comes to success, I think it really just depends on the person, and I think a lot of times what's meant for us is going to come to us regardless. So it's like our potential, our passion, our creativity, that's all going to, whether it's meant to elevate or whether it's meant to just slow down sometimes, it's all in the process. So I think really important to, as far as really getting into our passion, and maximizing our potential, I think it's really important to really just be patient. Be patient, but also be consistent in what you're doing. Be very, very, very consistent in what you're doing, and also be consistent or persistent in the people that you're around. So it's like hanging around the people that's uplifting you, hanging around the people who, have the best, your best interest at heart, and that type of thing. I think it's not necessarily just a mental thing. I think it's all, it's a physically thing, who you physically hang out with, where your emotions at the time, where you spiritually at. So I think it's all like a balance, and I think we can't really perform at our peak until we, great in all of those boxes.
I think that's a really excellent point, man, and especially where you give the example of it not just being a mental thing or a physical thing, even spiritual, and encompassing all aspects, because even from my own personal experiences, I've been in situations and circumstances in the past where I've been around certain individuals, for instance, and just mentioning certain positive things or things that I'm looking to do or things that I'm excited about, and the negative energy or disposition that you get or even feel from them can be quite demonic or devilish sometimes, because the devil, a wicked man, the devil, we talk about jealousy and envy and stuff like that, and I think sometimes that's one thing that people underestimate sometimes is the wickedness that you can see from people, especially when it comes to them being jealous and envious. We taught this in the scripture, in the stories of Cain and Abel and stuff like that, which is an axiom and shows you the same thing: a brother kill a brother, we can go even towards birthrights and stuff like that, but I ain't gonna get too heavy because people are getting taken off networks and all sorts of stuff. But with that being said, man, you're right with just the whole spiritual aspect, because sometimes I think we have an oversight or an undersight, sometimes I should say, of identifying that part to the things that we see, because jealousy is definitely a bad thing, and it's one thing that I think definitely plagues a lot of us in our community, where I'm not sure if it was you or Dean that was saying earlier, it was similarly the same thing, where you sort of get that crabs in the bucket mentality a lot of times, where that frustration, and sometimes it's a misunderstanding. I remember being young and dealing with frustration at certain periods, growing up in the streets, and seeing certain people doing certain things, and you're feeling some type of way, but you got to process that yourself and the understanding of what it is, because sometimes you'd be like, oh shit, I'm not a jealous person, but why am I feeling like that? It could be a frustration of you not maybe achieving what you're there to do, but you don't know how to process that properly, and that can end up spilling out as hate for the next man sometimes, if you don't really know how to balance these stuff out. So it's kind of crazy. I just want to say that was a good point. Which sort of stems, because this is the thing with this thing, it's like a two-sided coin, because in one aspect you can't really be in a state of solitude, because even to do certain advancements within business or within life, you're gonna need others. It's relationships are very important, whether it's business, whether it's networking, whether it's companies, organizations. You're always gonna be in a situation where you're going to be needing to relate with others. But I think the most important thing within it is understanding and relating with yourself first. So even within your own frustrations and disposition, you have that understanding of, so you can then move forward a bit better when you're dealing with and approaching people and stuff like that as well. I wanted to throw that sort of point in there. So we're looking at, we're still going to stay on the point of maximizing yourself in 2020. Leveraging the power of the internet, leveraging the power of networking, technology, even what we're doing now, having this call on Zoom and stuff like that. What advantages would you guys say, and you can bounce this between us, that we see more so nowadays in this time, that make it more beneficial for things to happen that wasn't around before? Like, what, even if you feel as though, in these times, there's things that, you can reach people at a click of a button, or there's, what examples do you think personally in these times that you say are effective to help drive things forward for the entrepreneur or the individual?
Yeah, I think the internet, I mean, it's an obvious thing to say, but the internet, you can become a millionaire from your bedroom. Literally, you can just, as long as you have a phone or a laptop, you can connect with anyone around the world. You can make money. You see it on YouTube all the time. You've got these teenage kids, and they're making hundreds and thousands, even millions, just from their bedroom.
Do you believe they really are, though, or do you think they are after they release those videos when people start sending them money?
I think a few of them are.
A bit of both.
I think a few of them, maybe not all of them, but a few of them are.
Yeah.
But the internet. Go on.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I do believe some of them are too, definitely.
Yeah, the internet, invented 25 years ago. It was a game changer. It's changed the world forever, and the world will never be the same again. And I just think that we're able to just connect with. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could DM Gary Vaynerchuk on LinkedIn and get his, pick his brains on how he's managed to achieve what he has in his career as an entrepreneur, someone who dropped out of high school, that kind of thing. So obviously the internet's the main thing. But I also think that it's that kind of, we live in such a consumerist society, and I think now more than ever, and that's what drives people on to want to achieve such big things in their career. Everyone wants the latest this, the latest that, and I think that's one of the key reasons why so many people are going down the entrepreneurial route. I don't think it's just about necessarily what they want to do. Some of them it's also about they want to kind of maximize the ability to just be able to live that jet-setting lifestyle that they want, and that's so prevalent on social media now. You go on social media now, and the average Joe who's your next door neighbor, they make their life look like they're a millionaire, and people are like, I want a piece of that as well. How can I get that? You know what I mean? So that's what's changed in society now, as opposed to, say, our old generations 30, 40, 50 years ago.
And you think that can make us a bit more advantageous, which I see you, because definitely the power of the internet has been such a shifter, over the recent years. Brandon, what any thoughts to that, or just from your
I would
aspect?
say, no, I would say the internet. I think the internet is beneficial. It could be beneficial for a lot of reasons. I think it's easier to really connect with people, but it's harder to really interact with them on an everyday level. As far as knowing your neighbor and knowing friends and that type of stuff. A lot of times, even when it comes to like relationships and stuff, I think it kind of threw off a lot of things. And I really want to get too deep into it, but I think it threw off a lot of the balances as far as the community. But really, I think the internet, like I said, I think it can be beneficial, but I think with everything just being a Google search away, it's like the everything is like all the knowledge, all the resources is here. But I feel like since it's all here, it's not really as far as the majority, it's not really a push for anybody to really get it. Because people feel like it's already there, I already got it, so why do I have to, jump into it? And I think that's why a lot of people, as far as like Daniel saying, we live in a very consumer society, and people get so comfortable with the internet, they just use it for, the reasons that they feel is adequate, which may not be the best.
Nah, you make a good point. I mean, with that being said, we're going to take a quick break right now. DOA TBN podcast on Anchor FM. You tapped in and you joined with special guest Brandin Smith and Dino Spumoni.
Right.
Okay, peace, family. We're back once again. Thanks for waiting. We just had to take a little break right there. So bringing it back, we're discussing things. Let me go back. Yeah, peace, fam. We're back with it, man. Once again, just had to take a little break. We're back discussing things on how to maximize your potential. We've looked at things from a family aspect. We've looked at things from a relationship aspect to interpersonal aspect. Now as we sort of go into the third segment, I sort of want to take it a bit more interpersonal, maybe, sharing some of our own experiences within this, because that's one thing. It's like with Brandon, especially when I first came across the Hood Therapy podcast, and I always give him credit because, we speak about things that we've experienced too at the same time. It's not just all rhetorical where we're just giving our opinions or stuff that we've studied. We also give a lot of personal experience and stuff too within reason. So with this being said, on this topic, I feel as though, Brandon, even yourself, Dean, we've all got vital information that definitely could be shared and people could benefit from, just exploring this topic. So let's take ourselves then. I want to look at, what experiences, not has anybody experienced, what experiences really stand out in terms of maybe something that you were trying to do business-wise or still could be doing, and where you felt as though it was either a help or a hindrance, or maybe give one of both, in terms of having family and friends involved.
Me?
Yeah, so, I mean, anybody could go first, to be honest, and whoever got one.
Then you got some, or you want me to go?
Yeah, well, because Fonzie was talking about business. I've not really got any. I've got examples in other areas of my life, like my career.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be business per se. Yeah, it could
okay. Right. Okay, that's fine then. Yeah. So, there's many examples in the past where certain other people have maybe advised me to do something, and I've not listened to it. I've not listened to that advice, and it's actually benefited me. For example, just education, a master's degree in 2010. Some people thought exactly was the right thing for me to do, because I wanted to have that qualification just to stand up from the crowd, and I did it. I achieved great things. I got merit, and it was one of the best years of my life, really, that 2010-11. Again, in my career, I did a sales role. Certain influences thought it wasn't the right role for me. It wasn't the right career path for me to take, and I had to give it some serious consideration. Again, I didn't listen to the advice I was given. I took this sales role in, and I was there for 3.5 years, and You know, I made more money in that 3.5 years than any other time in my life, and that was what enabled me to buy my house. So there's times in the past where other people have advised me to do things, and they couldn't see what I could see, and because of that, I was able to achieve mad things. And I just think that sometimes in life you've got to just be mentally, you've got to be really headstrong, and just to block out any other influences and just do what you want to do. Because the truth is, we all know ourselves better than anyone else knows us. Right? No one else in this world knows us better than we know ourselves. We know every thought we have, every emotion we have, and I think because of that, we have to do what we want to do. And I think if more people did that, more people would be happy. And if more people did that, more people would achieve success, rather than just going down the route that other people want them to go down. You know, that's my opinion anyway. Yeah, I think you just got to be headstrong and do what you want to do in life. You know.
So that's an example of, I guess, you kind of gave an example of where it's been people have been not like a hindrance in the sense, because if maybe you had listened to them, it could have hindered where you went. Do you have an example of where it's been like a help, and you know, where maybe you've had on the flip side?
Yeah, well, on another point as well. As you know, I went to a grammar school, and you know, it wasn't that fun. It wasn't that enjoyable. I think it was. Yeah, I think you had a similar experience. And I always remember in the summer holidays before I started there, I had this kind of dream, this vision in my mind not to go there. But I felt that if I didn't go there, then other people would be let down by that. But by me doing that to please other people, I wasn't really happy there, you know. But to answer your question you just asked, I have other examples again where people have advised me to do things like the house I bought. Okay, I was advised by Uncle Gosmore. He came to view the property with me, and I wasn't sure whether it was the right house for me. But he knows a lot more about property than I do. He's been in that for 20 years. He's bought loads of houses around the UK. So I got him to come with me, and he said, look, buy this house. He was adamant with me, look, it's a nice house, it's a nice area, buy this house. So I listened to him, and now I've been in the house for a year and a half, and it's one of the best things I ever did, buying this house. So, and there's other examples as well where people have advised me to do things. A job, you know, a certain job opportunity I had before. Someone said to me, apply for this role. I think it would be good for you. This is a data analyst role at Collier's in Birmingham City
Yeah,
Centre. I have no
I remember you was
experience of
working there.
commercial. Yeah, I had no commercial real estate experience. And I thought to myself, commercial real estate, I haven't got a clue. I've never done that before. I've never studied before. I haven't got a clue. But someone advised me to apply for this role because they thought it might suit me. And I applied for that role, smashed the interview, got the job. And I had a great time there. And it was a really good job for me. It was just a shame that it wasn't a permanent role. So yeah, that's an example of where someone advised me to do something. I thought I'm not going to be able to achieve anything in that industry. I went there, and it was such a great experience for me, and I actually learned so much about real estate in that time as well. And also as a result of that as well, my actual computer skills improved dramatically, because obviously as a data analyst role, it's all about Excel spreadsheets and, you know, creating graphs and all that kind of thing. So yeah, that's an example of where I listened to someone, didn't listen to my own mind, was just telling me don't do commercial real estate, and it benefited me. Yeah.
Yeah, what about you, Big Money?
Honestly, so I'm gonna just start with this. I'm gonna say society, not even just society, friends, family, whoever. Society has a way of stripping grapes of creativity, the passion, everything when we are kids, right?
Yep.
And I think a lot of times, for instance, for me, like I went to college for 2 years, right? And I was in there I was a psychology major, and it was like really I went to college. I'm not gonna say I went to college because of everybody else, but I went to college trying to find ways to really impress everybody else, trying to find ways to really make everybody else happy. And so I did 2 years, and I dropped out of it. You know, like I dropped out of it, and it was like, you know, I thought that was what was best for me. I knew that was what was best for me. And so I actually had people actually telling me, like, you know, like, I'm disappointed in you, you know, like, now what are you going to do? Now you're going to fall off. Now you're going to do that. Now you're going to do this. And so I think, like, really coming into that, just really, and it's like, for me, I kind of use it the opposite way that Dean did. I use it as a motivation, because you think about it, and it's like people tell you, you know, you're not gonna amount to nothing, especially without a degree, you know, and this type of stuff. But after I got the degree is really when I started to really figure out who I was and really start to jump into just the wisdom aspect of things, the understanding aspect of things. And, you know, like a viral tweet came out of that, a podcast came out of that, collaborations came out of that. And so I think about it, and it's like, if I would have just probably stayed in college, you know, and stayed doing what everybody else told me to do, I would not be we probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now, bro. I'm not even going to cap with you, because if somebody would have told me 2 years ago that you would have a podcast, you would be talking to people from, you know, the UK or somebody from Ghana or somebody from Nigeria, I'd be like, bro, you lying. You know, like, it can't be. So it's like, just thinking about that, I think for me, it was just more important to do what I thought was best for me. You know, like Dean said, it's important to do what you think is best for you. And it's important because I think it is important to have people's opinions. It is important to really hear what somebody else is saying, especially somebody who has more knowledge than you in a certain area. But they're not going to always dictate your final decision. So I think it's really important to really to really stand firm in what you believe in, you know, in the long term, because I think people like Dean say, you know yourself best. You know, people around you can know of you, they can see you, they can be around you, you know, 24 hours out of the day, but still not know you. So you know you best. So you just have to do what's best for you at the
end. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, definitely, man. And as you said, there's a lot of offense sometimes from other people who feel that they know you, and nobody don't know you better than you gonna know yourself, especially if you know yourself properly. Maybe that's a bit of a problem. Some people don't completely know themselves. They just know the presentation of themselves that's been put out there. And sometimes that involves people pleasing and, you know, pleasing others and stuff like that. So, I mean, us personally, even myself personally, it's kind of interesting because I'm not somewhere between the two of you guys in the sense where you got, I had the grammar school somewhat experience, and, you know, at the same time, I'd had the further education experience, but I didn't have the same artistic experience at the same time, where it's like, similarly to what you said, Brandon, if I'd went, I guess, the complete educational route, I wouldn't have, you know, done all the creative stuff, which would have even led to the music and the podcast and stuff, and you know, even just connect to where things are at now. So I think that kind of interesting at the same time, because, you know, I remember even going to university and being there and doing some of these courses and stuff, and then I don't know if it's down to their learning style, or I'll be like, something just didn't really sit right with me. And even similarly with yourself, I guess, you know, some of my educational endeavors in the past may have been unconsciously to not placate or please others in a sense, but I've always been adamant to know myself. Even from a young child, I was always like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Sometimes even at a borderline point of defiance, but at the same time still willing and able to fight for what I want. So and I think that's definitely powerful and important, because sometimes, as we've all alluded to in this conversation, there's a lot of external noise and a lot of external reach and want for validation, or want for you to go this direction or that direction, you know. So you know, with that being said, I think,
I mean, can I add something there? What we have to remember as well is that because it's your life, the decisions you make affect you. Other people can make decisions about your life, but that won't affect them. It affects you. And that's the key thing to remember. A lot of people tell you, do this, do that. Well, yeah, if it goes wrong, it doesn't affect them, does it? Their life carries on. It's you who's going to have to deal with it. You don't have to deal with the pain, the stress, the mental problems.
Exactly.
You know? That's important to remember. That's why it's really important.
That's bang on, because they have to leave that part out when they're telling you, or they do this and do that and whatever, you know, what, like you said, 9 times out of 10 is to please them.
Exactly. And I mean, a lot of people won't admit this, but they'll live vicariously through you. So, for example, they want you to do something because it reflects well on them. You know, if you do well, it makes them look good.
I think that's a lot of people.
Ulterior motives. Yeah, that's exactly. It's a lot of people. They have ulterior motives for you wanting to do things. If you do badly, it makes them look bad or whatever. So it's like they're kind of living through you. So it is really important to be headstrong. What I say is just listen to advice from other people, but ultimately do what's right for you. I think that's the best thing to do.
Yeah, no, that's some sound advice. I think as we wind it down, Brandon, is there any last points you want to make?
No, I agree with what Dean was saying. Usually I do what's best for you at the end.
Yeah, he summed it up quite nicely, man. And I think just as what we've discovered, and we've kind of went full circle and definitely brought it back to an even playing field of understanding that it's definitely important to have your family and friends, and but you gotta do what's important and what's best for you, and be strong enough to do that as well, and know that it doesn't necessarily make you, it doesn't make you bad for wanting to be different, or doing something different. Sometimes just that difference could be what's needed for your road or for your journey. So with that being said, it's been an absolute blast having you guys on here. Our first trifecta of guests. We definitely brought it with the triple threat from the UK to the US. I'm definitely proud to have you guys on there. I want to say peace to Anchor FM for definitely powering us each and every time. They got this thing sounding good on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and of course, we're always on Back Online representing. So with that being said, peace to the family, man. You're tuned in to DOA TV and podcast. Stay up, stay woke. Always look out for you folks. Any last words, family?
No, I ain't got none. Just stay focused. Stay on your path. Stay persistent. And everything that you asking for is gonna come to you.
Yeah. Big D. Oh, he
on mute.
Out. Yeah, he muted out. You gonna have to unmute, Playboy.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. Yeah, so basically, just stay on your purpose. After God, your purpose is the most important thing. Just stay on your purpose, stay on your grind, and keep your eye on the goal.
That's real.
That's it.
Yes, Lord. So, okay, peace to the family, man, and we out with this one this time. Yeah.